Hey healthy gamers, this is Jack here. Got a Necro video for you today. This one is going to be talking about Necromancer's skills, her different utilities, and then just how I felt she played during the beta. And if you go over to my website at thehealthygamer.com, you can find guides like this on all the different classes, as well as a lot of PvP videos. So right now I'm using a Scepter as my primary and the PvP Focus as my offhand. And so you just have your primary attack. It does damage and then puts a dot on them. And then you have Grasping Dead, which is an AoE slow and damage, and it also puts a dot on the enemy. And you have a Feast of Corruption, which is an AoE, point blank AoE damage attack to everyone. And then Reaper's Touch sends out a little blade that bounces between different enemies and puts debuffs on them, and it also gives you swiftness so you can move faster. And then you have Spinal Shivers, which does damage, and it also slows their movement speed. And now I've switched to an axe with a PvP horn as the offhand. So again, you just have your primary attack, and then Ghastly Claws does really good DPS. And this is just a big attack. See, like there, it does that. Unholy Feast is a point blank AoE damage. We got a Whale of Doom. You can daze enemies in a cone in front of you, so this is good for whenever melee class get up in your face. And then Locust Swarm, you activate this, you move faster, and the enemy are also crippled. So again, good for getting away from melee. And an Axe is really good for single target DPS, whereas the Scepter was more of a little bit of an AoE attack and more of a dot attack, and this is more just straight up damage. And now I'll show you the Staff. The Staff is really good for AoE, and it's good for kiting people around. You have your primary attack right here, which is pretty big damage, and then you put these dots down on the ground, and then whenever someone steps on them, they'll explode. Anyone inside will take the damage, like this one. Inflicts bleeding on the foes, and it gives yourself health regen. This one freezes the foes, does damage. This one transfers conditions from you to the foe, and so if you got a bunch of debuffs on you, it'll transfer to whoever triggers that mark, and then that one will make the foes run away in fear. So well, this is good if you're kiting people around. You just run around and then spam stuff and keep running and spam. If someone's chasing you, now they're activating all those things, and it's a lot of fun there. And the really cool gameplay mechanic for Necros is their F1 Death Shroud. And so what happens when you activate Death Shroud is that this little life force bar that you gain just using your different attacks turns into your health bar. So you're actually invulnerable when you're in this Death Shroud, and you have just attack, and then this attack claw where you can go in and go in close to an enemy. You have Doom, it's a fear. And then you have life transfer, where you can actually steal their life and get that, replenish that bar. So as long as you have this life bar here, you're invulnerable. And so you're taking damage, but it's not actually doing damage to you. So that actually makes you a lot tankier than some of the other caster classes, because you essentially have two life bars. You can fill this up by doing your primary attacks, and then you can use that to absorb damage. Let's talk about the Necro's utility skills now. For healing, you can summon a Blood Fiend, and this is a little pet that anytime it does damage, it gives you life back. And then if you want to hit Q again, you can also sacrifice him and get a 6k heal up, and then you can just resummon him back up whenever that cooldown goes down. And there's some other ones. This one just heals you and then removes conditions as well, so a bunch of debuffs. You got a bunch of those on you. You can hit that, get a big heal, and remove all of those. And then you can conjure up a Well of Blood, just AoE heal for yourself and your party. Your utilities, there's a bunch. Necros are focused on, you can have a bunch of summoning abilities. Those are a lot of fun. And then you also have a bunch of AoE kind of dot, slow lifesteal abilities. And yeah, just a lot of really cool stuff you can do with the Necro. It's more of a complicated class to play, but it's a lot of fun. Let me show you some of these summoning skills real quick. So right now I have Bone Fiend. So it's a ranged little pet that attacks things. You have bone minions. These are, I don't know, melee little attackers for you. You can have a shadow fiend. This is just a big shadow thing that'll attack mobs, and then you can have a flesh golem as your elite skill. So you can have all of these up at the same time, and as you can see, once you summon them, you can also do special attacks with them. This bone fiend can immobilize foes. You can make these flesh fiends explode for quite a bit of damage, and then you can use a shadow fiend to teleport and blind a foe. And then you can use your flesh golem, just tell him to charge. He's like a big tank. And what's really great about all of these, oh, you can also have a blood fiend up as well. Forgot about him. So you can have all of these up along with you. They'll follow you around. And what's really good is that in PvP you have to target. You know, you got to target somebody to do damage to them. And if someone's tab targeting, when you're around, they're most likely going to hit one of these dudes. And especially if you have a little character model, it's difficult to click you. So I found fighting Necros against Necros with this build, it's really hard to target them, and sometimes it's just not even worth the effort. And then you have all of these guys that are just doing a ton of damage to them, so that's a lot of fun. Or if you don't want to play with pets, you can do a ton of different Aoe skills, point blank Aoe skills, and now all of these different wells are around you. And so this one is transferring buffs into debuffs on the enemies. This one is damaging foes and inflicting debuffs on them. This one blinds them, so their next attacks are going to miss. And then this elite skill is a lot of fun, Lich Form. Transform into a big Lich. Now you have all these new skills. So just a primary attack. You got Mark for Death, big AoE attack. You have Chilling Wind. Markor, this one's kind of fun. You summon a whole bunch of little minions. And now you got a bunch of minions up. And then Grim Spectre. Just another big attack there. Boom. So I really enjoyed the Necro. This might be the class I start out with when the game actually releases, because it's just so versatile. You can kite with it, you can have a bunch of pets, you have good survivability, a lot of your skills give you life steal back, and then you have 2 life bars. And then you can transform into a big Lich. You have all these point blank AoEs and stuff. And in PvP I found it's better to have a little more survivability and be able to have more control rather than just trying to do all out DPS, because if you're real squishy and you get targeted down, once you're dead you're not doing any DPS. Well, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and then you can always go over to my website at thehealthygamer.com for a lot more Guild Wars 2 videos.